Hello, and welcome to Readings in English, the channel where stories come to life and help you improve your English. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced learner, this is the perfect place to dive into heartfelt tales, broaden your vocabulary, and connect with the beauty of the English language. The English language is one of the most widely spoken in the world, offering endless opportunities to connect, learn, and explore. But learning English isn't just about grammar or vocabulary, it's about understanding stories, emotions, and ideas that unite us as humans. Here at Readings in English, we believe that stories are one of the most powerful tools for learning. Through stories, you don't just learn new words, you experience new worlds. Today, we have a very special story to share with you. It's called The Pen Pal Promised, and it's a heartwarming tale of friendship, hope, and the power of words. The story follows Aru, a young boy from a small village in India, and Emily, a girl from the United States. Despite living thousands of miles apart, they form a beautiful bond through letters, proving that language and kindness can bridge any distance. So get comfortable and let's begin this journey together. Remember, as you listen, try to immerse yourself in the story, imagine the characters, and feel the emotions. This is a wonderful way to not only enjoy a great tale, but also improve your English comprehension. Let's dive into the Pen Pal Promise and discover how simple acts of connection can change lives. Ready? Let's get started. Aru perched on a low branch of the large mango tree that shaded his family's modest courtyard. The tree had stood there for generations, a silent witness to his family's joys and struggles. With a pencil in hand and a well-worn notebook balanced on his knees, he wrote his first letter to someone thousands of miles away, a person whose life and world were utterly unfamiliar to him. The Pen Pal program was a recent addition to a small school in the southern Indian village of Thulavur. Aaron's teacher, Mrs. Priya, had presented it as an exciting opportunity to improve their English. The concept fascinated our writing to someone from another country, someone who might see snow, eat food from a supermarket, and watch movies on a big television. For Aru, whose English was limited to classroom phrases and textbooks, this was both thrilling and daunting. His letter was simple but heartfelt. He introduced himself. "My name is Aru, and I live in a village in India. I like climbing trees, flying kites, and playing cricket with my friends." He carefully avoided mentioning the struggles his family faced, like their small rice field that barely yielded enough to feed them, or the nights spent studying under a kerosene lamp. This letter was meant to show his best side. Aru reread the letter twice before sealing it in the envelope Mrs. Priya had provided. The envelope bore the address of Emily Carter, a 12-year-old girl from Ohio, United States. Her name sounded delicate and unfamiliar. Aru smiled as he handed the envelope to his teacher the next day, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. 2 weeks later, Emily's first letter arrived. its envelope crisp and clean, with a small drawing of a flower doodled in the corner. Inside, her handwriting was neat, and the tone of her letter warm and cheerful. She described her life in Ohio, mentioning her love for reading, her art class, and her pet dog, Max. Aru read her words slowly, savoring each sentence. Though some phrases puzzled him, he was enchanted by the glimpse into her life. He wrote back, thanking her for the letter and asking about her favorite books. Their exchange began, and each letter brought Aru a new challenge to express himself better, to use words he had just learned, and to tell stories that might interest Emily. As days turned into weeks, Aru felt his world expanding. Emily's letters introduced him to a life so different from his own that he began to see English not just as a subject in school, but as a bridge to something greater. Their friendship was budding, and Aru couldn't wait to see where it might lead. The letters came and went with a rhythm Aru eagerly anticipated. Every 2 weeks, the postman arrived with a stack of envelopes for the villagers, and among them, one always bore his name in neat, slanted handwriting. Aru felt a thrill each time he saw it, holding the envelope like a small treasure. In one letter, Emily described her town. "Ohio is very green in the summer," she wrote. "There's a park near my house where I walk Max. My favorite spot is a big oak tree that's perfect for reading." She included a sketch of the tree, its branches heavy with leaves, and Aru found himself imagining her sitting beneath it with a book in her lap. Inspired, Aru tried to describe his village with equal vividness. He wrote about the fields of rice that stretched into the horizon, the narrow dirt roads where buffalo carts still passed, and the lively chatter of the market on Sundays. His English stumbled over unfamiliar words, but he persevered, filling his sentences with the colors and sounds of his world. Emily always replied with encouragement, answering his questions and sharing small pieces of her life. She mentioned her school, her friends, and her favorite author, Roald Dahl. Aru borrowed an English storybook from his teacher's collection and painstakingly read through one of Dahl's stories, even if he understood only parts of it. In his next letter, he proudly told Emily about it, asking if she could recommend more books he might try. Their letters became longer, more personal. Aru told Emily about the mango tree where he often wrote, and Emily confessed her dream of becoming an artist one day. Aru admired her ambition, though he didn't yet have a dream of his own. He only knew that he wanted to keep writing, to get better with each letter. One day, Aaron's teacher complimented him on his improved English. "You're making great progress, Aru," she said with a proud smile. "Keep practicing, and you'll see how far you can go." But it wasn't just the language Aru was learning. Through Emily's words, he began to understand a little more about the world beyond Thulavur, and through his letters, Emily caught a glimpse of a life far removed from hers. The bridge they were building felt fragile, but full of promise of connection, that might change both their lives. The next letter from Emily arrived in late November, just as the village was preparing for the harvest festival. Aru sat under the mango tree, the familiar white envelope in his hands. Emily's letters had become his favorite part of the week, and he eagerly opened it, his fingers deftly sliding along the paper's edge. Emily wrote about the changing seasons in Ohio. "It's getting cold here," she explained. "The trees have lost all their leaves, and the mornings are frosty. My mom makes hot chocolate to keep me warm while I study. What's the weather like where you live?" She included a tiny sketch of her frosted window, delicate patterns spiraling across the glass. Aru looked up at the clear blue sky and chuckled. It was hard to imagine frost when the sun blazed down on Thulavur. He decided to describe the heat of the fields during the harvest and the vibrant festivities that followed. During the Pongal festival, he wrote, "We decorate cows with bright paint and flowers to thank them for their help in the fields. The air is filled with the smell of sweet rice cooking, and everyone sings and dances." As he wrote, Aru thought about the stark differences between their lives. Emily spoke of grocery stores, television shows, and her small but cozy room. Aaron's world was shaped by his family's small rice field, the communal well where villagers gathered, and the rhythmic thump of grinding spices in his mother's kitchen. Yet, despite these differences, their letters felt like a shared secret, a way to reach across the vastness of oceans and cultures. Emily also mentioned her frequent doctor visits, describing them as routine checkups. Aru didn't question it. His own world rarely included doctors unless there was a serious illness. Instead, he asked about her dog, Max, and shared a story about the stray puppy that followed him to school one day. For Aru, Emily's letters were windows into a world of comfort and possibilities. He imagined her sitting in a warm kitchen, sipping hot chocolate and working on her art. For Emily, Aaron's words painted a vivid picture of a life brimming with color, tradition, and resilience. Both of them were discovering something new, not just about each other, but about the world itself. One morning in early January, Aru ran to the postman as usual, his heart racing with anticipation. But when the stack of envelopes was handed out, there was none for him. His heart sank, but he consoled himself, thinking perhaps the mail was delayed. The days stretched into weeks, and still no letter came. Aru wrote another letter to Emily, filling it with questions and stories, hoping it would remind her to reply. He sent it through MR's Priya, who promised to post it promptly. Yet, another month passed without a response. "Maybe she's busy with her studies," his mother suggested when she noticed his quiet disappointment. Aru nodded, but doubt lingered. Had he said something wrong in his last letter? Had Emily lost interest? The silence gnawed at him, filling his days with unease. Writing letters had become such a central part of his life that their absence left a void he couldn't ignore. He wrote again, this time with even more care, choosing his words meticulously. He shared the story of the festival that had just passed, where his family had cooked special dishes and adorned the house with kohln designs. He even drew a small sketch of the design his sister had made, thinking it might bring a smile to Emily's face. Still, no reply came. His friends teased him. "Maybe she's forgotten about you," one said with a laugh. Another added, "Why write to someone who doesn't care?" Aru tried to brush it off, but their words stung. Even his parents gently suggested that he focus on school and let go of the pen pal program if it was causing him so much worrying, but Aru couldn't give up. He felt a connection with Emily that went beyond the letters themselves. Even if she couldn't reply, he believed his words might still reach her, bringing her some small comfort. With renewed determination, he sat down under the mango tree and began writing again, pouring his heart into each word. "Dear Emily," he began, "I hope you are well. I miss your letters very much and hope to hear from you soon. Until then, I will keep writing because I want you to know that I am still here, thinking of you and wishing you all the best." He folded the letter carefully and gave it to Mrs. Priya the next day. As he walked back home, he glanced at the mango tree, its branches swaying gently in the wind. Somehow it felt like a promise that one day Emily would reply. Aaron's letters continued, each one carrying a fragment of his world to Emily. Though the silence persisted, he found solace in the act of writing. It became more than just a correspondence. It was his way of holding on to hope. In one letter, he described his mornings. "The sun rises early here," he wrote. "I wake to the sound of birds and the chatter of my neighbors at the well. My mother makes chai, and the smell fills our home." "Do you have a favorite morning drink?" Aaron's English had improved, and though his grammar wasn't perfect, his words carried warmth and sincerity. He began to include small stories from his village. He recounted the time he and his friends flew kites during a festival, the string cutting against their hands as they battled to keep their kites in the air. He described a visit to the temple, where the air was thick with incense and the rhythmic beat of drums. "Sometimes," he wrote, "I imagine what it's like where you live. Do the trees look the same? What does the snow feel like? I hope one day I can see it." Aaron's teacher, Mrs. Priya, noticed his dedication and encouraged him. "You're becoming a wonderful storyteller, Aru," she said. "Even if she doesn't reply, you're learning something important." The process of writing brought Aru a sense of purpose. With every letter, he felt closer to Emily, as if his words could bridge the silence between them. He began to imagine her reading his letters, her face lighting up with each story. This image gave him the strength to continue. Despite his growing skills and dedication, the lack of response weighed heavily on Aru. His friends teased him less now, but only because they had lost interest. Even his parents had stopped asking about the letters. To them, it seemed like a futile effort. One evening, as he sat beneath the mango tree, his sister, Kavya, approached him. "You've written so many letters," she said, sitting beside him. "Why do you keep writing if she doesn't reply?" Aru looked at the letter in his hands, the ink still drying. "Because maybe she needs them," he said simply. Kavya didn't respond, but stayed by his side as he finished his letter. She didn't understand his persistence, but she admired it. Aaron's routine continued. Every letter was an opportunity to improve his English, but it was more than that. He felt that his words had a purpose, even if he couldn't see their impact. He began including small drawing sketches of his mango tree, the temple, and even the stray puppy that still wandered near his home. His teacher occasionally helped him with grammar, and he learned to express himself more clearly. One day, Aru noticed the postman struggling with a larger stack of letters. Aaron's heart raced as he approached the man, hoping against hope that one of them was for him. But the postman shook his head. "Nothing for you today," he said with a sympathetic smile. Aru nodded, swallowing his disappointment. He had grown used to the silence, but the hope of a reply never truly left him. That evening, as he wrote his next letter, he found himself wondering what had happened to Emily. Was she too busy, or was something else keeping her from replying? "Dear Emily," he wrote, "I hope this letter finds you well. I think about you often and hope you are happy. If you cannot write back, it's okay. I will keep writing because I believe our friendship is special. Until next time, your friend Aru." He folded the letter neatly and placed it in the envelope. As he sealed it, he made a quiet vow to himself. No matter what, he would not give up. Aaron's persistence was unwavering, and another month passed without a reply. Then, one afternoon, Mrs. Priya called him aside after class. She held an envelope in her hands, different from the ones Emily usually sent. The handwriting on it was unfamiliar, but the address was the same. "This came for you, Mrs." Priya said softly, handing it to him. Aaron's hands trembled as he opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, not from Emily, but from her parents. His heart sank as he read the opening lines. "Dear Aru, we're writing to you on behalf of our daughter, Emily. She has been unwell for some time and hasn't been able to respond to your letters. We want you to know how much your words have meant to her. Every one of your letters has brought a smile to her face and lifted her spirits during this difficult time." The letter explained that Emily had been battling a serious illness and was currently undergoing treatment. While she hadn't been able to write back, she had been reading his letters and treasured them deeply. Her parents included a small note. "Thank you for being such a kind and thoughtful friend. Your letters have brought her hope when she needed it most." Tears welled up in Aaron's eyes as he finished reading. The weight of the silence suddenly made sense, and his heart ached for Emily. But mixed with the sadness was a deep sense of purpose. His letters had been reaching her after all. They had mattered. That evening, Aru sat under the mango tree with a fresh sheet of paper. His mind raced with thoughts, but he knew one thing: he had to keep writing. Dear Emily, thank you for sharing your life with me through your letters. I am so sorry to hear that you are unwell. Please know that I am thinking of you every day. I will continue writing because I believe in the power of words, and I hope mine can bring you some comfort. He folded the letter carefully and sealed it as he handed it to Mrs. Priya. The next day, he felt a renewed determination. He wasn't just writing to a friend anymore. He was writing to bring her hope. With Emily's parents now acting as intermediaries, Aaron's letters took on a new tone. He still shared stories from his village describing the stray puppy that had become a familiar face at the temple, the smell of jasmine garlands at the market, and the laughter of children flying kites, but now his words carried an added layer of care. In one letter, he included a small drawing of his mango tree, with himself perched on one of the branches. "This is where I write my letters to you," he explained. "It is my favorite place." I hope you have a place like this that makes you feel happy. Emily's parents responded occasionally, sharing updates about her condition. They told Aru how she kept his letters in a special box by her bed and how she often reread them. Each letter, they said, brought her a sense of peace and reminded her of the beauty in the world, even from her hospital bed. Encouraged by this, Aru began adding more personal touches. He included small sketches of his favorite festivals, a pressed marigold flower from his yard, and even a simple recipe for chai that he hoped Emily's parents might make for her. The act of writing became more than just a routine for Aru. It was a mission. His parents, initially skeptical, began to understand its importance. His mother would occasionally suggest stories to include, while his sister, Kavya, helped him with sketches. One day, as Aru sat under the mango tree drafting his next letter, Kavya brought him a small bundle. "Here," she said, handing him a piece of cloth embroidered with colorful patterns. "You can send this to her. Maybe she'll like it." Aru smiled, touched by his sister's gesture. He carefully folded the cloth and placed it in an envelope alongside his letter. It was the first physical gift he had ever sent, and he hoped it would bring Emily a little bit of his world. As days turned into weeks, Aru felt a growing connection to Emily, even without her direct responses. Her parents' occasional notes reminded him that his efforts were making a difference. Each word he wrote was a thread in the tapestry of their friendship, and he vowed to continue weaving it, no matter how far apart they were. Aaron's dedication didn't go unnoticed, Mrs. Priya often shared snippets of Aaron's letters with the class, pointing out his improvements in English and the creativity in his storytelling. One day, as she read aloud a portion about the Pongal festival and Aaron's colorful description of decorated cows, the class erupted in laughter and applause. "You're becoming quite the writer, Aru," Mrs. Priya said. Why don't we all write a letter to Emily together? I'm sure she'd love to hear from your friends, too. The idea quickly gained momentum. Aaron's classmates, many of whom had initially teased him about the Pen Pal program, eagerly contributed. Some wrote short messages in English. Others added drawings, and a few created colorful crafts. Kavya, ever supportive, joined the effort by teaching the younger children how to fold origami lotus flowers to include in the package. When the group effort was complete, Aru looked at the stack of letters and gifts with pride. It was more than just an envelope now, it was a piece of their village, a collective message of warmth and care. The package was sent off with the help of MRs. Priya, who assured Aru that Emily's family would appreciate the gesture. Aru felt a swell of hope that the connection they had built was now being shared with others. Weeks passed, and then, to Aaron's delight, a package arrived in return. It was addressed to the school and bore Emily's name in the corner. Aaron's hands shook as MR's. Priya handed it to him in front of the class. Inside were drawings and a handwritten note, penned shakily but unmistakably by Emily. Dear Aru and everyone, thank you so much for the beautiful letters and gifts. I've kept everything by my bedside, and it makes me smile every day. Aru, your stories bring so much light to my days. To everyone in your class, thank you for sharing a little piece of your lives with me. Her note was accompanied by small drawings of her own a snowy park scene, a sketch of Max the dog, and a simple yet touching illustration of Aaron's mango tree based on his earlier descriptions. The class erupted in cheers as Aru read the note aloud. Emily's response marked a turning point. Though her health was still fragile, her words carried a sense of gratitude and resilience. Aru felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that his efforts had not only reached her, but also encouraged her to respond. At home that evening, Aru shared Emily's note with his family. His father, who had remained skeptical about the Pen Pal program, read it in silence before handing it back. You've done something good, Aru, he said. I'm proud of you. The days that followed were filled with a quiet joy. Aru continued to write, now including more about the people who had contributed to the package. He wrote about his classmates, their shared jokes, and the festival preparations in the village. His letters were no longer just a solitary act, but a reflection of a community united in kindness. Emily's responses remained occasional, but each one felt like a small victory, a sign that their connection was stronger than ever. The bond they shared had grown beyond mere words. It was a testament to the power of hope, resilience, and the unwavering belief in the impact of a simple act of care. Aaron's letters to Emily became more than a way to practice his English. They were a means to share dreams, hopes, and aspirations. One day, Emily's parents wrote back, including a note from Emily herself. Though brief, her words were vivid and filled with longing. Dear Aru, I loved your stories about the mango tree and the kite festival. I have a dream to visit India one day and see it all for myself. Your world sounds so colorful and full of life. Do you ever dream of visiting new places? What would you like to see? Your friend Emily. Her words lingered in Aaron's mind as he sat under his mango tree, gazing at the fields stretching into the horizon. He hadn't thought much about travel before. The farthest he'd ever been was the neighboring town, but Emily's question sparked something inside him. If she could dream of seeing India, why couldn't he imagine visiting her world? In his next letter, he wrote back with excitement, "Dear Emily, your dream of visiting India makes me very happy. I hope one day you can see the mango tree and taste the sweet rice during our festivals. I also have a dream now. I want to visit America and see the snow. I want to meet Max and walk in the park near your house. Maybe one day we can share these dreams together." Their exchange of dreams brought a new energy to their correspondence. Aru began asking his teacher and friends about America, learning about its landscapes, traditions, and languages. Emily, in turn, described her town in greater detail, sharing memories of snowy winters and summer picnics under the big oak tree she often sketched. For both of them, these dreams became a source of hope. Emily's days in the hospital felt less confining as she imagined India's vibrant festivals and Aaron's mango tree. Aru found himself inspired to work harder in school, knowing that learning English might one day help him see the world. As Emily's condition fluctuated, her parents continued to provide updates. Some days brought hope, while others were filled with uncertainty. Aaron's letters became her constant source of comfort. But as weeks turned into months, Aru began to sense an urgency in their correspondence. One evening, after receiving a particularly somber note from Emily's parents, Aru sat beneath the mango tree, feeling the weight of his own helplessness. He wanted to do something more, something that could bring her joy beyond the letters. His thoughts turned to a memory Emily had shared, her love for music. She had once written, "Music helps me feel better on hard days. My mom plays the piano, and I love listening to her." Though Aru had no piano, he remembered a traditional song his mother sang during festivals. It was a song of hope, one that had always lifted his spirits. Aru decided to record himself singing it and send it to Emily. The next day, he spoke to Mrs. Priya, who arranged for a local teacher with a recording device to help him. Aru practiced the song tirelessly, his voice trembling with nerves. When the day of the recording arrived, he stood in the small room, his hands shaking as he held the microphone. "This is for my friend Emily," he said before beginning to sing. The recording was sent along with his next letter. Aru hoped the song would reach her in time, bringing her the same comfort it had always given him. As he sealed the envelope, he whispered a silent prayer, his heart heavy with both hope and fear. The recording reached Emily's family a week later. Her parents described her reaction in a heartfelt letter to Aru. "Dear Aru, Thank you for the beautiful gift. Emily listened to your song with tears in her eyes. She said it felt like a piece of sunshine had reached her ear. It's a melody of hope, and it means more to her than we can express. The letter brought a mixture of relief and pride to Aru. He could picture Emily listening to his song, the tune carrying her to a place of warmth and peace. It gave him confidence that his letters and his effort truly mattered, even across continents. Emily responded in her own way. Though her hands were weak, she drew a colorful sketch of Aaron's mango tree surrounded by flowers and children playing. Beneath it, she wrote, "This is how I imagine your world, full of life and joy. Thank you for bringing that joy to me." The drawing quickly became Aaron's treasure. He shared it with his family and classmates, who marveled at the talent of the girl who lived so far away yet felt so connected to their village. Kavya insisted they frame the drawing and hang it in their home. "It's a reminder of everything you've done," she said. Encouraged by the success of his song, Aru began brainstorming other ways to share his world with Emily. With the help of his teacher and friends, he created a small scrapbook filled with photos of his village, pressed flowers, and captions in English explaining each image. It was his way of showing her everything she had inspired him to appreciate. The scrapbook was sent with his next letter. In it, Aru wrote, "Dear Emily, this book is a piece of my life for you. I hope it brings you closer to the colors and sounds of my village. Your drawing of the mango tree is now framed in my house, and it makes me smile every day." Aaron's letters and gifts had a ripple effect far beyond what he imagined. Mrs. Priya shared the story of his correspondence with the school administration, and soon it was the subject of a local newspaper article. The headline read, "A Pen Pal's Hope, Letters Bridging Cultures and Lives." The article celebrated Aaron's dedication and highlighted the unique bond he had formed with Emily. Villagers who had once dismissed his efforts now approached him with words of encouragement. His story inspired many in the community to value the connections they had taken for granted. However, with recognition came challenges. Aru felt overwhelmed by the sudden attention. Some people suggested he should use his story to attract sponsors or donations, but he rejected the idea. To him, this was about friendship, not fame. Emily's parents were equally moved by the story. In their next letter, they wrote, "Aru, your letters have shown us the kindness and strength that can come from the simplest of gestures. Emily is so proud to call you her friend." Despite the recognition, Aru remained grounded. He continued to focus on his letters, his studies, and the dreams he and Emily had shared. The scrapbook he sent brought another heartfelt response from Emily. "Dear Aru, the scrapbook is my window into a world I hope to see one day. Thank you for making me feel like I'm part of your life. You're not just my pen pal, you're my closest friend." Double quotes for Aru. Those words were more rewarding than any applause or article. They reminded him of the true purpose of his efforts, to bring light to someone who needed it. The letters between Aru and Emily continued, weaving a bond that grew stronger despite the physical distance between them. Aaron's letters became even more colorful and vivid, filled with stories about the recent monsoon rains, the blooming of flowers around the temple, and the preparations for a kite-flying competition. He eagerly awaited each response, which came less frequently, but always carried Emily's warmth and gratitude. One day, Aru received an unexpected note from Emily's parents. "Dear Aru, we wanted to share some good news. Emily has been responding well to her latest treatment. Her doctors are optimistic, and she seems to be gaining strength. We truly believe your letters and thoughtful gifts have been a part of this healing process. Thank you for being a light in her life." Aru read the letter twice, his heart swelling with relief and happiness. He ran home to share the news with his family, who were equally overjoyed. Kavya clapped her hands in delight, while his mother quietly wiped away a tear. Even his father, usually reserved, smiled and nodded. "Good work, son," he said simply. This renewed hope inspired Aru to create something special. With the help of his teacher and classmates, he organized a letter drive at school. Every student was encouraged to write a short note or draw a picture for Emily, sharing a piece of their life in the village. Aru compiled everything into a large envelope decorated with bright patterns and sent it to Emily. When Emily's response arrived weeks later, her words carried a tone of newfound energy. "Dear Aru, your letters have given me so much strength. I've started drawing again, and my doctors say I'm doing better every day. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. One day, I hope to visit India and meet you under your mango tree." Her word ignited a spark of determination in Aru. Emily's recovery, though gradual, was a testament to her resilience and the power of their shared dreams. Months passed, and Emily's health continued to improve. Though her family remained cautious, they began to speak more openly about the possibility of her visiting India someday. Aru, too, dreamed of this day, imagining the moment he could finally show her the world he had described in so many letters. On a cool spring morning, Aru received a package from Emily. Inside was a letter accompanied by a small painting. The painting depicted a boy and a girl sitting under a large mango tree, surrounded by vibrant flowers and soaring kites. "Dear Aru, this is how I imagine us meeting one day, under your mango tree, sharing stories and dreams. Until that day comes, I want you to know how grateful I am for your friendship. You've changed my life, and I hope I've changed yours too." Tears welled in Aaron's eyes as he held the painting. It was a symbol of everything they had: shared hope, resilience, and an unshakable bond. That evening, he gathered his family under the mango tree to share the letter and painting. "One day," he said, his voice steady, "Emily will sit here with us. This tree will be a place for all the dreams we've shared to come true." As the sun set over Thulavur, Aru felt a deep sense of peace. The journey he had started with a simple letter had grown into something far greater. It was a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness could ripple outward, touching lives in ways he could never have imagined. Though their meeting had yet to happen, Aru knew it was only a matter of time. Until then, he would continue writing, dreaming, and believing in the power of words to bridge not just distance but hearts.